All right.
Welcome, everybody. It's episode 198. Chat's here. It's Master Splinter time, apparently. Travis is here. Grizz is here. Lisa's here. Who's to blame? Not the cat. I just messed up the tier ranking. It's all my fault. But we're going to do our sponsored shout-outs, and then we're going to get into it. Bettina.com. Hashtag shit happens for $5 off the crypto panel. You already know you need it. Go ahead and do it. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. Shane Kelley, he'll be on tonight. Reptiles Unplugged, 9 p.m. Small Town Xotics. He also has Reptiles on the River, which is a tubing reptile party on June 28th. So check that out if you want to join. You have to be a Patreon member. Sounds fun. Tubing's fun. Try not to get chub rub, whatever. You know, that's my only advice for that. Or leeches. Don't get leeches. Bravo Zulu Ball Python. She's a Midwest ball python, Dominican red mountain boa breeder. Check her out. She did a show last Sunday. I didn't ask, missed it. But if you want to, I think she has an auction up right now on ball pythons. Or you can go to bravozulsballpythons.com to see availability. Justin Brill, Stoneage Ball Pythons. He has some animals finally uploaded to Morph Market. So if you're interested in clown pied ball python projects, you can check those out. Stoneage Ball Pythons. Andrew, Powerhouse Pythons. He has his Stimson eggs are due to hatch in July. So that's very exciting. Good for him. And he has put 5 clutches of ball pythons in the incubator, and he's getting ready for the Pack Noirs in July. And hopefully he can have a post Pack Noir show sometime in July. It's a big show. It's worth talking about. Gray Family Snakes. I don't have an update. I failed. I didn't ask soon enough. But they are probably breeding ball pythons and snakes. In Alabama, check them out at grayfamilysnakes.com. And Chris at BS Reptilia says Werfel stock is on June 21st. So if you're in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, West Virginia, Maryland, Virginia, or just anywhere, you just want to go to Werfel stock, you can check it out. You can DM him for the address. And it's the day before the Lehigh Valley Repti Fest on June 22nd. And he's also vending the Gettysburg Expo on July 19th. Longicata are getting their first meal this week. If you're interested in that, message him. He has chocolate hypo het clowns, T-positive bloods, pipping any day now, and colubrids cooking. We love that. Thank you, Chris. We also have another Chris. Chris, how are you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm living not my best life, but a life that's pretty good.
Aren't we all?
But we're talking about something exciting today, which is rat snakes. And specifically not Asian rat snakes, because I feel like there's a bias. I included European ones too.
Ooh, fancy.
I think that's part of what's going on here is people like the flashiest ones of anything, but I think the the more temperate ones sometimes maybe are better pets because they're used to not living in a tropical rainforest. So maybe we can sort of help people be like, it's okay that it's brown because it's a good pet. It's okay that it's brown.
You know me, I'm a fan of brown snakes.
I know. Eric's here. Autumn Leaves. Jennifer says, don't chew this up. Also, our opinions don't really matter. All of these snakes are S tier. You should probably go buy all of them, especially if you're capable of caring for them. They all need attention in the hobby, realistically. Even the most common among them aren't that common. So this is literally just an arbitrary mechanism to talk about them for fun.
The views and opinions expressed by me do not what's the word? I don't know. Do not express, or whatever, the views and opinions of Holdback Rack.
Yeah, and they don't matter because some people have just different tastes. Like I like snakes that are easy keepers in a lot of ways, and some people are like, I want it to be hard as fuck. and that's fine, good. They're all cool. But we'll just see what Chris would rank them in terms of coolness or ease of keeping or whatever. And I also intentionally excluded Patias because Patias is the least rat snake I've ever met. So fuck you.
Jesus.
Sorry, I was a little harsh. It's like saying Spilotes is a rat snake. I'm like,
it's a tree crebo.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with Patias, by the way, but it's not in this discussion. It's like the ones we are very more rat snakey in disposition. That's what we're talking about. Yes, rat snakes for everyone. All right, let's go. I'm a little combative today. I'm so sorry.
You're allowed. I think we'll let you.
Okay, thank you. All right, do you want to go in a particular order, or do you want me to go just like order the pictures? Can we go order the pictures so it would make my life a little easier?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, thank God. And if you want to skip around because you see a picture,
we can just go in order. That's totally fine.
Escapulin snakes.
Ooh.
Don't mess this up.
Okay, so I have thoughts on Escalapians. So I've kept them twice now. And the thing that the first one I got, I ended up selling because I didn't like the temperament. So the really nice thing about them is like they're temperate. So you can, if you want to, I've kept them at room temp at like mid 70s and they do totally fine. The one that I have now is in like a more naturalistic setup and he's just at room temp with like a super tiny like 25 watt bulb on him. He's one of the display cages. So they're super nice, but the babies are flighty. Like think like baby garter snake. They don't move like you would think it would move like a corn snake or a rat snake, but it's more garter snake-esque. But then when they get older, it's very much like a Japanese rat snake with how they handle. They're kind of a little snippy when they're babies, but as adults, they're really nice. Plus, they have that melanistic form, which is really pretty. So they're pretty hardy, but as far as like if you're breeding them, you have to cool them pretty cold. I think like mid to low 50s to trigger breeding. So they have to get cold, but they don't get big either. They only get like 3 to 4 feet.
We love that, actually. I think that's like should be more of a determiner for like, do you breed a ton of them? Like, do you breed a ton of 9-foot snakes? Or
no,
you know what I mean? No, right?
Yeah, no. I think they're really good because they seem to have like the interest in them kind of like ebbs and flows. Where like when people know about them, they want them and they seem to be really popular. But there's never a ton available at any one time because they don't have huge clutches either. But they're so teeny tiny when they hatch out. Like baby corn snake is big next to one of these when they fresh.
Do they need like pinky heads or do you know?
They're stretchy. I know that like day old pinkies they can take, but when they're babies, they tend to just be like drop feed and like leave the food in there for a bit, and then they'll come out and grab it later.
Yeah, I think this is one where like I don't know why more people don't keep them.
I think
I know they're brown, but who cares?
I think it kind of depends on locality because most of what we have are, God, I forget what locality they are, but mine is a German locality and he's pretty green actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's that locality stays more like 3 foot long, where some of the other localities do get larger as well.
All right, where would you put them on your tier rank of coolness?
I'd put them honestly around an A.
A. Bold move, Cotton. We'll see if that pays off.
I like them. They're not the worst by far.
No, they seem pretty reasonable. I've never kept them, so I don't really.
I haven't enjoyed the baby ones, but the adult I have is pretty enjoyable, honestly.
All right, very good. All right, spicy time. Ready?
Okay.
And then for everybody at home, you haven't been explained to this yet. We're not doing separate subspecies of rat snakes. So like all beauty snakes are technically subspecies of one species. So they're all Orthorophis tanera and then Tenera and then Grabowski and whatever. So we're doing them all together because otherwise we'd be here all day. So even though there's big size and color variations between each group. That's true for all of these species because all of them are polymorphic anyway. We're trying to get a generalization. So let's talk about beauty snakes.
Ugh.
They seem
Okay.
gentle of spirit.
Yeah, it wants all the little hugs and kisses right there.
Jennifer says boo because I smushed them together. It could be its own separate tier ranking to be like, what are the coolest bamboo rat snake subspecies? You know what I mean?
See, I would argue that like more than any of the other subspecies, you kind of have to break beauty snakes up a little bit because there's like the Malaysian clade, which is like Ridley eye and Grabowski eye.
Mhm.
They kind of played together. But then Taiwan, Yunnan, Chinese, and Vietnamese all kind of clade together their own way.
Mhm.
So at least that was what I was reading in I think that's one of the Dieter Schultz books.
Do you think they're gonna bump them up?
I don't think they'll ever get bumped to like full species. I think they're gonna stay subspecies. But as far as like temperaments and everything, even with my own group of beauties, the Grabowskis and the Ridley eye are much different than like the Taiwan and the Vietnamese that I keep.
So what would you do at like a Taiwan Vietnamese, hypothetically?
I would put that clade more at like a C to a B because here's the thing, like Yunnan, no one really cares about Yunnans. They're brown, they have no morphs, they're still relatively rare in the hobby. No one really has them and they don't have that wow factor. Vietnamese are big and pretty and they get that whole snake discovery, like everyone knows what they are, but they're evil and they're big. They get big, they eat a lot, they shit a lot, and they'll charge at you. Even the 3-foot baby I have will come at your face.
Seem very gentle.
Yeah. Chinese have the morph factor, which is super nice, but Taiwans are kind of like I feel like everyone gets into beauty snakes with Taiwans, or at least they used to. Where like I think Vietnamese and Yunnan take the whole Chinese end of that roster down a little bit just with attitude and blah factor.
Even though there's Chinese morphs?
I don't know. The thing is, I feel like the Chinese morphs, other than Calico, I feel like they're not that popular. Like there's like the hypos and the albinos, which are fine, and the anery. And like the platinums that Zirkles do are pretty enough, but I feel like there's not a ton of love for the Chinese morphs beyond Calico.
I think you're right. I just don't know if people are like even aware sometimes.
No.
You know what I mean? Like I like the T+ calicos because they look like palmettos that don't have messed up eyeballs. So like if in a world like that's what I would buy out of them because then you solve the eyeball problem without ruining another animal.
Yeah, and I think there's potential with Chinese, but I think that they get overshadowed more by like the naturally prettier beauties like the Vietnamese and the Ridley eye in particular.
It is funny. Like a Highland Ridley eye is more expensive than a 3-gene combo Chinese morph. So like,
Yeah, and I feel like Ridley eye and Grabowski eye somewhat have that like locality factor where you can get like the Cameron Highlands or you can get the lowland form. And then there's different lineages of Grabowski that are almost from like different areas potentially, but we're not super sure on that yet.
Well, if you pulled them together, would you put them in B together?
I would put them in B as a whole because I think there are better choices, but I personally am a huge fan. So,
all right. We'll see what Jennifer says.
I was going to say, don't ream me on that. I actually love my beauty snakes, but I think for like the general population, they're a B tier.
Yeah, I think they're very cool. I just think they're a little obnoxious. A lot of them are, to keep. Elafe ceromedes, blotched snakes.
Ooh. So these I've never kept.
Me neither. I see them
Are these
sometimes on Fauna, and I'm like, oh yeah, I might buy that one day. And then I don't.
are these the like ones from Bulgaria?
Yeah, I think so. So this is a European. And they're usually not even this
Yeah.
yellow. I picked a nice one.
So I took care of one that was in someone else's collection once years ago, and it was a super cool snake. Very much gave me like American rat snake, like black rat snake vibes. Like it just lived at room temp in a big cage and ate whatever you put in there, and it just slept through winter.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty cool though.
Yeah. I feel like as far as like people not wanting anything that has any like crazy care requirements, I feel like Soromades is probably in that like A tier, but it's got brown snake syndrome. Hardcore.
And they are kind of hard to find. You can't find them every year. So like you'd have to be like waiting around for one if you really wanted one, or snatch up one whenever you see one. So like it might be hard to like acquisition ability is also sort of relevant. So I don't know. What would you tier them out at, even though they're pretty easy keepers?
Even though they're pretty easy keepers, I put them at A because honestly, this is one, these and the like Urartians and the Fort lined, I've actually like the Quatuor lineata, I've looked into them a ton of times because they're very American rat snake-esque. And
well, let's do that one. We're here. I didn't do the Urartian because it's kind of similar to Armades, but this one I think is a different look.
Now, is this Quatuor lineata or is this a ladder snake?
This is mostly Quatuor lineata. The ladder snake is
later on.
This picture.
Okay. Yep. There we go. Sorry.
We're doing it. Sorry. I could have messed up too. You never know.
No, you're good.
Yeah, these are born blotched like yellow rat snakes, and they stripe out, which is cool. They have like sort of mean eyebrows, which I kind of like that about them. You see these sometimes also. They're not like so rare you'll never find them, but they're like $150 snakes or whatever.
Yep, I see these a lot more than I see Soromades.
You do? Is it like a regional thing, like at a particular show?
Not really, no. I've seen these on like even on Morph Market and through like some I have a friend who's does a lot of importing, and he'll send me lists, and these are on the list almost every year for like hatchlings.
Do you think people, I don't know, I feel like somebody could like run with this if they wanted to. It's cool.
I feel like it's another one of those things where if you're more into a snake for like the natural history and like what it is and that it's something different, this is the kind of snake you really enjoy.
Yeah. Every time I have asked for Japanese four lines, people present these to me and they're like, because that's what I really want, but they think I mean this. And I don't even have Japanese four lines on here because I think they're extinct in the hobby outside of Japan. But if I wanted a replacement, this would be a vibe, you know? All right, where do you put Quatuor lineata?
I'm going to put them down at B because if I recall, they get a lot bigger than Soromades and some of the other Europeans. And they're just,
you're right.
And they're hard to find. So I would put them at B.
All right. All right, let's go back to the order. Seems very gentle. Radiated rat snakes. Silignathus radiatus.
Oh, I love to hate these things. I've kept them twice, and the second one I have is somewhere in the air vents of my house right now.
Very cool.
And that is why I dislike them, because
they're very attractive, though.
They're beautiful. They are stunning. I've kept them now twice over the years, and the most recent one I got was a typical radiated. The good thing about them is you can kind of chuck them high 70s, low 80s, and they'll eat anything you just drop in food and they eat it. but they're skittish as all hell and they're fast and they make like a beauty snake look slow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why mine is currently roaming somewhere, because I opened up the bin and it shot out like an arrow and got under a shelf and dove into the nearest air vent.
Do they poop on you while they're running?
Oh yeah,
Or okay.
they spray pee and poop.
Okay, very good pet. Excellent. And they have a T plus, which is fairly common in the hobby if you're like wanting a schmorf with it.
And I think these are one of those species that if they're really cool, and I would like to see what happened if someone were to like breed a couple generations, because I feel like most of the people who get these and breed them get like a generation or two and then they move them on and they get into something else. But I feel like they have a lot of potential to be good snakes, but we're still at a point where they're all wild caught and they're all skittery and high strung. And that is, I think, the big detractor with this species.
So where would you put that?
I'd put them at C. As much as I like them, I would put them there.
It's fine. And this one, I just thought it was a funny picture, so it's mostly for Lisa.
Trinket snakes.
Yeah. All right, let's do like the real trinket snake picture. Here it is.
I mean, put that baby right up at S.
What? Oh, I love them, and what's weird is they used to be so much more common, like $30 all the time, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's trash," and they were very cool and small.
Yeah.
And now they're not that common anymore because they were too brown or something. But they can be very cool looking. Not just brown.
I have one from Kristen over at Stygian Exotics. I've got one of hers, and that animal is phenomenal.
Is it a pooper or no? No.
Mine is a little bit more bluffy compared to the sibling that she held back, and like a few people locally that I know also have animals from the same pairing, but later clutches than mine. Mine is like the really spicy, like rears up and like flattens its neck at you. And everyone else has these tame, wonderful little babies. But all in all, as far as size, they're super small. They tolerate a pretty wide range of temps. And for the most part, even if they like flare out their neck at you, when they go to like strike at you, they more like bop their face into you. And then you can just like pick them up and then they're like, oh, I'm fine.
So yeah, they honestly, used to recommend trinkets or corns. It was like, do you want a corn snake equivalent? Like that's how they used to sell them at shows. I feel like, and everybody just forgot about them.
Yeah, I think they're really solid.
Yeah. So S tier?
I would pop it at S tier. They're great. All right. Everyone I know that has one thoroughly enjoys them.
Lisa thinks beauty snakes rule her heart. So that's fine. You can be wrong. No, they're all cool. We're just having fun. Okay. We're still in
black copper.
Yeah. Do you think have you ever kept one? Like they're not as common in the hobby as radiateds.
I have not. They have piqued my interest a lot. Again, Kristen over at Stygian has a group of these. And so I've gotten to see hers.
Okay, keep going. Sorry, my internet sucks. You keep going. I'm a failure.
No worries. Yeah. So they're super interesting. They get a lot bigger than the common trinkets. These are more like a radiated rat snake in like size, but the temperament is much easier going than a radiated.
There's less pictures of them trying to murder people, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, and
that's all I know.
And she keeps like the commons and the montanes, and I think she briefly had radiateds, and she has these as well, and they're very calm in comparison, even though hers are wild caughts.
So just on 5 checks alone, where would you put? Because you haven't kept them yet, but you're interested. Black copper red snakes right now.
I'd put them, just from what I've seen, I would put them, I'm going to put them at a B.
Mm-hmm.
Because the issue is they vary in appearance based on locality. And a lot of them are kind of fugly.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that are the Vietnamese, which are the really brightly yellow striped type, are really nice. And I would put that kind at an A tier, but those ones are really, really hard to get. Most of them are going to be really ugly.
Fair. All right. I mean, don't mess this one up either.
Ooh. Okay, so first off, what is the proper way to say it? Because I've now heard Dione, Dione, and Dione.
I don't know. I think it's actually, if we were talking about the Greek goddess, Dione. No, Dione. But I don't think it matters. We'll call them steppe rats. Okay, look at these steppe rat snakes.
I mean, I have a trio of these, so I'm putting them at S tier.
What?
I love these little things.
They have a fire personality. Like, they're super outgoing in a way that
it's hard to describe. Yeah,
they're like, hey, I'm a little puppy dog. Like, every good part about a corn snake is there. Like, basking out in the open, being like, whatever.
Yep, mine are I don't think any of mine have ever musked or peed on me. They stay decently small. I keep them at room temp and they just do their own thing. And I've got a couple different localities too. So, I mean, I think these are great. Plus, I mean, there's a morph and a locality phase for anything you want. You want black, you want red, you want striped or spotted, you've got it.
Mm-hmm. And there are some of these snakes in this list that have experienced, like, they're just really popular. So, like, the base price is really high and maybe deserved or whatever. I don't know. But these ones aren't like that, in my opinion, because you can import them by the dozen from Europe. So, like, whatever artificial inflation of pricing, you can argue if it's fair or not. I don't know. But they're not that crazy priced, really. They're not $600 each for a baby. That's like a normal wild type.
Even like the really nice high red ones I've seen for, I think, like $300 to $400.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my Beijing, which is like Tula Zoo stock, I paid like $120 for her or something like that as like a yearling. So
yeah, that's a very normal price for like a normal-ishy looking version. It's like $100 to maybe $200, depending on where you are. Sometimes you get pairs for $200 as babies. All right, where would you put it?
S, all the way at the top.
Yeah, I just think they're very reasonable animals almost the whole way around.
I think they should be a lot more popular than they are.
Yeah. All right. So go away.
These are S. I have a pair of these, so I'm putting these right up at the top because this is probably in my top 2 old worlds that I keep.
Yeah, I think they're more common than, I don't know, like Suramates or something.
Oh yeah.
You know, like something rare, because they're pretty cool looking. But they're like pretty easy to take care of. Maybe their biggest flaws are a little bit big-ish. Instead of like 4 or 5 feet. But they don't need a 6-foot enclosure necessarily, unless you want to give them a place to run around, which they would use.
Yeah. Honestly, I think these were like my second old world because I started with Mandarins and then I got a Japanese. But yeah, I mean, I've never had either of my Japanese take a swing at me. The big female is in a big display enclosure and she's always just out. So whether you're a pet keeper or going to breed, I think they're pretty easygoing and stellar either way.
Yeah.
I will be back in 2 seconds. Give me just 1 minute.
All right. I go snakes. Did I pay for the rankings? I did not. I just know what's up.
Sorry.
It's all right. All right, where would you put Japanese rat snakes? They do have like variability in color. Some of them are greener instead of, or brownier instead of bluer or whatever. But
I mean, I'm on
everything's like that.
I think the world needs more Japanese rats, so I'm gonna put them. I'm putting these at S. I think they're just great.
All right, good.
I
I didn't
know you
pay
won't
for any of
complain with
these
that one.
rankings. I just like them because I think they've never been expensive to me. I've never felt like I was getting price gouged to get into a species, and they've always been easy keepers and fine, you know. So like that's part of what's important if you're gonna pick up a fucking Noah's Ark type collection. Bimax.
I have a love-hate with these because that's why I have Diones, is because I have now bought 2 Diones as Bimax.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think they're really cool. And it's basically the same thing as a Dione as far as husbandry and care and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think they get so overshadowed because Dione have such the range in locality type and the variation, where these guys kind of what you see is what you get. You know?
Yeah, there's a little bit of variation, but not as much. So it's hard to be as excited. But so when I see them as like normalish looking pairs for like $120 for a pair. So they're like $50-$60 each. When I see them at shows, no, they don't even list them online. They're just like, I made some. So that part's hard.
I'd love to find a pair of these because I've seen like 1 or 2 true pairs, but every other Bimac I have seen has turned out to be a Dione or a like hybrid. Which I think is another big thing where like I wish more people worked with them in the pure form, because I think you've heard the story, but I have a Dione that is a high percentage Dione Bimac hybrid because the scalation on the head is intermediate between the 2 species.
Does its face look Bimac-y or Dione?
She looks more Dione. And she is like fully striped, but was sold to me as a striped Bimac.
Oh.
Which then I believe it's Bimacs have more scales, or they have more upper labials. Like they have 2 to 3 more than Diones have. Like Diones have like 8 or like 8 to 10, and Bimac have 12 to 14, I believe. And mine has like 11. So
interesting. Yeah, if people like the ones that I saw Craig Trumbauer had at Arlington, maybe Craig message Craig, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, they should be maintained at least. It's a shame they got sort of smushed in.
Yeah.
All right, where would you put them? They're still small and cute and easy to keep, just less variable.
I'd put them at A.
A, very good.
They're good, but they're going to get out competed by Diones, I think.
All right, Carinata. And obviously this is combining young Ensis with Carinata, because we're keeping subspecies together, but obviously the Japanese version is rarer, more expensive, and arguably uglier, maybe. But whatever. And there are morphs of Carinata because they eat Carinata in China also. So that's why we got all these Carinata morphs. But they like to deposit their hot load on you. What do you think about that? Would you want a hot load?
Oh, geez. Of all the questions you could ask tonight,
they're not. Listen, they have very well-developed anal glands, and they're ready to use them.
I'm aware. I have one of these. I am painfully aware.
Do you love this hot load or not? I just want to know.
Honestly, I think they are beautiful. I also think they are kind of terrible animals that deserve to just be left alone.
Like, do you think like the morph? I mean, they're very attractive. That's cool looking, right?
Yeah, they're gorgeous. Don't get me wrong.
Is it like there's always this tension between like you want to popularize something, but it kind of sucks because it wants to put its hot load all over your face or whatever. So then you're like, is it too much? to talk about how cool it is all the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I think they're cool, but as far as like large colubrids go, there are so many things that are more rewarding that are the same size that will not spray their ass juice on you.
Mm-hmm. Do you
And
think
like
if you play like if you had one since it was a baby, like can we selectively breed niceness, or do you think they're
I handle mine, I would say probably like about weekly I get him out and he is still as feral as the day I got him. They don't like tame down as nicely and they almost like I've never worked with Pataeus, but they almost seem to handle like the like Pataeus carinata and the Pataeus coros where they kind of like fling their whole body around.
Yeah, I
And
don't
that's
love
what
that.
no, and they're very bitey and they're really defensive. So I mean,
And they
I
get
like
big. So like if you have all that in a big snake, it's like
mhm.
extra fun. All right, where do you put them? They are cool looking though.
I'm thinking like C
Whoa. All right.
because they're pretty and that keeps them out of D, but at the same time they are assholes.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know a single person who has ever said their king rat is like trustworthy or friendly or
Yeah, you would
super
leave your kid
enjoyable.
home alone with it so they could babysit. Yeah,
Yeah.
no shot. This one has stuff on it. This was an interesting version of Shinrikii, which apparently the common name is now Manchurian rat snake instead of Amur
Interesting.
or Russian. And I was like, that makes more sense. There's more of them in China than anywhere else.
Okay.
Well, so Shinrikii, and there's different forms. I picked this one because I thought it was actually weirder than like the more high yellow ones we see. Because there's like more, it's more black rat snake looking, but
Yeah,
what
for
do
a
you
minute
think
I
of
thought
them?
you put a black rat snake on here and I
I
was
know.
like,
I was like, this looks so much like my home. Because people will breed for high yellow, and I'm like, I don't know.
mhm.
You could breed for something else too, brother. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. I really like Russians personally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had one for a long time and he ended up passing away at one point, but honestly, really enjoyable snake to work with. I mean, super, most people say the only issue they have with them is the food motivation because they always want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, other than that, they're pretty solid. They can take a wide range of temps. They get sizable. I mean, these
But
are up
not
there,
9 feet.
no, like 4 to 6, maybe.
Yeah.
I see people saying they get 8 feet, and I've never seen one more than 5 to 6. But
What? Maybe,
yeah,
maybe hypothetically, but I don't know. Like in practice, to me, they're very climax
yes.
sized. Like there's a bit of variation, but they're not.
I mean, these have been hybridized with Climax before.
Yeah, but some cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs did a corn snake beauty snake hybrid and got a viable offspring, which there's 30 million years separating those two lineages. So. I don't know how they did it, but sorry. Yeah, they are. To me, they're not climax like. They're like a big, but they're sort of, but like in build and stuff. Maybe like a big Diones
Hmm.
in personality. These ones are less arboreal than a climax is to me.
Hmm.
Like they'll
Yeah,
climb
these
on
are
stuff, but they don't like sit in a branch like a climax does.
no, these are almost more of like I don't know. They're heavier bodied and they're sturdier in a way that's almost like you'd find them more under a log or like in a brush pile than up a tree.
Mm-hmm.
I
They're pretty
like them.
cool.
Mm.
Yeah, they're
And they do
very.
have a couple morphs too. Like there's the Mel's, and then I saw someone just hatched out a patternless one, which I kind of feel like there's no point to a patternless one. We all like the black and yellow, but I digress.
Patternless. So it's all black like a Mel.
Hmm. But they do have like some white on the like lower labials, I believe. I'll send it to you. It's on Instagram. I'll send it to you
All
after
right.
here.
They also have an amel and an axanthic.
Oh,
too.
do they?
Yeah. So you can make snows and whatever. I think the Canadian that made the double heads called the albino melanistic blizzards, which makes sense.
Mhm.
I feel like the wild type looks pretty good. I
Mhm.
don't like the amel that much. Makes me sad. Just like the amel climax. All right, Russians. Where do we rank Russians?
I put these A.
Yeah, okay, yeah. They're pretty cool. They're not super expensive either. If you wait around, they're relatively easy to find. You're not gonna like ruin your life getting them. But like the morphs are a little more expensive and they're easy to keep pretty much. I don't know. Like it's not hard. They do need like space. They need like a 4-footer or something to run around and do stuff. Eric loves his Russians. Jennifer's getting Russians.
I want to get another one. The one I had was always kind of a little. He was the weird one that wasn't good on food, but I had him for a couple years and he was kind of runty.
Anomala, which is Korean Ratsnakes, but it's the name's hard because technically Russians go into the Korean peninsula. And they integrate. But here we are.
I think they're interesting. I like the greenish color that they get. And I feel like the kind of like the darker head, the way the body kind of fades out and then it darkens up towards the tail. I think they're just physically, it's a very attractive looking rat snake.
And they're basically Russians with a paint job variation. In terms of everything. I've had mine for 9 months or something, but mine are like variable in look too. Some of them are buckskinnier looking, some of them are olive like this, and I have one that's gearing towards black.
Okay.
Are they hybrids? I don't know. I'm not in charge.
No.
They were all sold to me as pure Koreans, but who knows? I wasn't there when they were born. But I think they're much rarer than Russians because people are like, I don't want a brown snake.
Yeah, and I feel like there's always been less of them. Like I've only seen the babies pop up a handful of times on Morph Market, but they seem to be cheaper than Russians when they do pop up.
Right. So, where would you put them in terms of?
I would just put them at B, frankly.
Yeah, they're very like a Russian, just maybe a little harder to find, and Eric's is maybe a little meaner. Mine are all right. I think some people are going to be like, I don't want a snake that grows up to be sort of olive colored. It's like the only difference. Like if they could pick yellow and black or olive, why not pick the yellow and black?
I'm with you.
Yeah. All right, we did it. Let's go back to our order. Japanese forest rats. A tiny picture. This is bullshit.
These are the Euprepiophis conspiculatus, right?
Yes.
I've never worked with these, nor the only person I know who has these is Matt Most.
Yeah. Isn't that in some ways bad for a species if the only person anybody knows that has them is one person?
I think so, because there's no site B. If something happens, you're screwed. And I don't think he's gotten many eggs, if any, and I feel like I've seen him selling off adults lately. So,
so someone should get them and work with them. I've always been like, God, like it's okay that he charges a lot for them, but I don't want to like swing for like a fun side project at that price point.
yeah, and I think
very price sensitive, but
but I think part of it too is like they're really cool, but I forget if it's these or if it's like the Choppa or the Bella rats. It's one of the really rare fossorials that mainly only he has, that he only has like a handful of pairs, and he still has like the wild caught imports that are old, and I think he got them from Klaus. So then it becomes like, do we, what is the, I don't know, like, is there even enough to support a viable population in the future?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully there is. I mean, Jennifer says if somebody doesn't do it, then it'll be gone from the hobby. It's just
feel
like
they're already
gone.
I feel like they're already at that point. I feel like they're borderline functionally extinct, because when you only have a handful of breeding pairs and they're all descended from each other and we can't get more.
Right. Japan's closed.
Yeah. And I don't think they're coming in from Europe either.
All right. Where do we put?
I'm putting them at like C, because they're just unobtainable, borderline. They're cool, but they're unobtainable.
Yeah. And they're like fossorial, sort of bamboo rat-like, supposedly. I've never kept them, clearly. So they're like not hard to keep per se, but supposedly they're harder to breed than a bamboo rat. Is that correct?
That's what I believe, and they're not as straightforward either.
Yeah, but maybe with time they could be better. Let's do bamboo since we're talking about it. And obviously this is pooling all subspecies together. There's a lot of subspecies. So, because we don't have time to talk about everybody. Is having a tub where you can't see the occupants of it very often good or bad?
I think this is another one of those cases where if you get someone who gets the snake to appreciate the snake and doesn't go into it thinking it's going to be their happy pet that loves them, they will enjoy it. Like, my bamboo is a graboid hellspawn. And that is something that I know some people that have had bamboos and have gotten out of them because they said, they're way too bitey and they just didn't like that about them, which is, understandable. Mine is far from the most handleable old world I have, but it's also a bamboo. So
yeah, it's almost like keeping a tarantula to me. Is that crazy? Like, you have this thing, you like it, you can't really play with it that much. It lives, but like, unlike tricolors or whatever, which I almost never see, these ones still like poke up like little mystery carrots and look at me sometimes. And I'm like, oh, you're cute. Like, come out of the cocoa.
Yeah, when I go to feed mine, he's like right out of his little moss tub, and he'll come right out and fight God, basically.
So they're more bold than like other things, but a lot of times you don't get like a strong visual experience from your enclosure.
No, I think these are, because they're so shy, and they're kind of like mandarins, where if we were keeping one as like a happy pet, right? They don't want like the bright lighting, and they don't want an exposed space. They like tight quarters, and they like logs to hide under. Mine is almost always in a moss tub. So, I mean, I like them and I enjoy him. I'm glad I didn't get mine earlier into my reptile keeping career, because I probably would not have had as good an experience as I am just like letting him do his own thing constantly.
Yeah, and they are small. That's good. Temperate sort of climate, barely need heat. If you have a reasonable ambient temperature, 70 whatever 8, they're fine. Mine doesn't, like, in terms of like heat tolerance, Climax will climb into the water bowl before these ones will, which I don't know. That's just what I'm telling. And adult Climax, not babies. I think the adults like can overheat. Let me air quote that. Overheat. So I don't know. They're pretty cool. It's like having a fish tank, I think, in many ways.
I agree.
All right.
I put them at B.
All right. Fair.
They're small, they're pretty, but they're kind of jerks. But they're very fecund too. So if you wanted to breed them, they do have just kind of the rapid fire sea turtling.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, they're so pretty and cool looking. Sometimes maybe that's like a flaw, because then pet people will want it bad as a baby in like a deli cup, and it seems like a corn snake or something. You're like, oh yeah, I can play with that, and then they can't. So maybe I don't know. B, don't buy it if you really want to hug it, is the answer.
Yep,
pretty sure. Zebensis satula leopard rat snakes.
These are cool. I've not kept these yet. I'm looking forward to the day I do. I've been around Stygian Exotics Situla, and they're really nice snakes. Excuse me. Dying over
I think
here.
they're cool because they solve the problem of like getting sort of a colorful, fun, temperate European. Colorful is in quotes.
Yep.
Here. I mean, they're not green, but like they have different. They have like a stripy form and a blotchy form, and they have red, and you could selectively breed, but it's a temperate.
And they have
European.
a melanistic as well.
Yeah.
Which are really pretty. The issue I think that these get is to someone who doesn't know what they are. It
Do
looks
they look like a
weird
corn snake? Yeah.
Yep. And so I think that sometimes they get overlooked because of that. But also I do think they're really nice because they do stay a little bit on the more like small to moderate end of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's good though. Right. Eric says people think they're a snake, another kind of corn snake. People are dumb. I hate people. No, I don't. I like that they're small. I mean, yeah, maybe. All right. Where do you think they go? I think they're very reasonable pets.
I'd say A.
All right.
A or B. Yeah.
We're chugging along. We're doing great.
Yeah.
Red-tailed green rats.
Oh, fuck these things. I say this as I have one actively in quarantine right now because I've never messed with Gonyosoma and I got a really good chance to get a baby. And I do not enjoy them so far.
Well, what's the care parts that you don't like, in your opinion?
To me, there's something about all Gonyosoma, but in particular Oxycephalum, that they always look sickly and emaciated to me. They just always look like they want to die. And
like they just are naturally a slender snake, so they have more like the side ridges.
Yeah, but there's something about like, I don't know, the handful that I have handled, they almost seem to have like, I don't know how to describe it. Their skin almost feels like waxy to me, but it isn't. And so it feels like they're just sickly. And they tend to be kind of high strung. And again, they're a more they are an arboreal species, but to me, they're almost more like ornamental pets. Like you don't get one expecting it to be nice and cuddly and want to be handled. You get it to tell it looks pretty and throw it a mouse every so often.
Right, which is fine. That's a kind of pet. I just think.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I like the different color phases they can come in, but I would not necessarily play with them a lot either. Let's be clear.
No, I'm gonna put them at C just because the other thing too is so many of them are just wild caughts and they're sickly and it's hard to find a captive bred one.
All right, so since we're in Gonyosoma, let's do Janseni. Even more wildcat, sickly. I just picked a picture because it was fun.
I'm gonna get some flack for this one. Here's my thing. I think a lot of I think Janseni and Oxycephalum and the ones that come in like wild caught, I think they're super cool and I want to work with them. But also I feel like they're bordering on that like group of snakes that like most people who get them, they don't do well for. And I feel like some of the Gonyosoma are almost species that like border on like maybe shouldn't be as popular, shouldn't be as easy to get a hold of as they are, especially like the import stuff, because it just never does well for people.
Yeah, there seems to be like, it looks cool, so it gets a high import price. So people think people should want to have it. They buy it, they're not successful, the process repeats. Instead of them just stopping and like buying something easier, like a Climax or a Russian or something, which they would probably have success with. I don't know. There's like a treadmill there of like setting people up for failure. All right, where would we put Janseni though? I like when they're big and black. Just gonna be honest.
I'm gonna put them at C with.
Red-tailed green
Oxycephalum.
rats.
Yeah, because out of the two, I like Jansenii more, but they're borderline impossible to captive breed as well.
All right, we're still in Gonyosoma, so let's do. They were talking about green bush green bush snakes in the chat. And this one, now that I'm looking at, isn't even Praesinum. It's the blue-eyed species.
The
What's that?
Carulum.
Yes. So like this is the wrong picture for the snake, but let's pull them together because they're pretty similar. Have you ever kept one? I've heard they're shy as shit, and they like basically need a planted terrarium, and
these ones I have not worked with. Literally, the only Gonyosomas that I've worked with have been a couple of red-tailed greens over the years. The Carulum and the Praesinum, I've heard the same thing, that they're kind of skittish, they're small, they're high-strung. You kind of need to... They almost strike me as like an Asian rough green snake.
Mm-hmm.
So, but these are also much more readily available as like captive bred. So they definitely seem to have like a season and there's a bit more success. So if you know someone who's working with them and you know when to look, they seem to be pretty easy to get.
How many of them do you think are hybrids?
That's a really good
I
question.
Know you don't know, but every time I see them, I'm like, this one's got a weird in between eyeball. Is that a locality variant or like, are people just putting together bush snakes and just hoping for the best?
I think it's probably a good shot that there are definitely some hybrids out there because, I mean, plenty of these species, I mean, how many of them or how many cryptic species are in Dione just on its own, you know?
1 million. 1 million. I think I like the size. Like if you're going to get Gonyosoma and you're going to be like, I'm having a little tree snake for fun, green snake on a stick. This is a good
I think these are perfect for that.
Yes. Where do we put them?
I'd put them B probably, just because I feel like the parameters they would need might be better suited to like a more advanced keeper, someone who's big into bioactive, but I feel like they're not impossible to keep.
Yeah, like you could even keep them in like a 3-foot terrarium instead of a 4-foot. I don't think they get that much bigger than 3 feet. I mean, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. They're not like an absolute unit, you know?
No, and I feel like part of the thing with Gonyosoma as well is like there are some species I feel like you can keep them in a tub, you can keep them in a viv, and they're going to do totally fine. I feel like a lot of the Gonyosoma are the species that, like, unless it is like a hatchling, I feel like you almost have to keep them in a more like vivarium type setup.
Yeah, like if they're running around the trees in like a tropical rainforest, they're going to expect high humidity, high airflow. They're not going to necessarily do good in a tub. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Exactly. Let's go back to this. We never did it. Ladder snakes,
rat.
Scalaris.
I think these are cool. I have kept these before, and these are very much like, think of a bull snake from Spain is what they're like.
With an accent.
Ole.
Aren't they big too? Am I making that up? Kind of big?
Mine was a juvenile. But I have seen them get into that like 4 to 5 foot range. This one was a tricky one, and this is one of those, I will say, I struggled to keep this one because there's not like great information from a lot of people, because some people say like you need to keep them like a temperate colubrid, and other people say like keep it like a North American rat snake, and I've had other people say they need more of a hot spot, and I could never quite find the sweet spot that mine liked. And I'm not sure
if it's diurnal and they like run things down in the middle of the day where they're from.
Yep.
So maybe they do need to be a little hotter.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
It was really difficult to find care info on them, because a lot of the people that I found like that had kept them long term, it was really, really old, outdated info. But they're so pretty as babies because they're all speckly, and then they lose that.
But it's still cool. They do look bull snaky-ish in
Mhm.
head structure. Like
Well, and they'll puff up and bluff and hiss at you like a bull snake.
that's cool. It's a bull snake with an
I
accent. That's very cool to me.
Mhm. The one that I had was really fun. I liked him a lot, but he was really regurgy.
Oh, that's bad.
And so, yeah, so he was kind of like a permanent quarantine animal, and I had him for 9 or 10 months. And I did enjoy him, but it was difficult to find the parameters he liked. And it kind of seems to be like a locality thing because some of them are from like Spain, but some of them are from France. And so they have kind of like different needs depending where they come from. So without knowing where yours is from, that was kind of what I took from what I found. So,
and they don't, I think they're even less common than like four lines or Soromades. Would you agree with that? Like you still see them every year, a couple here and there, but I don't see them as much as either of those two.
I have seen them a lot in the last 2 years.
Oh, are they like being imported more or something?
I don't know. There's like 5 or 6 of them up on Fauna or Morph
right now. Oh,
yeah.
hell yeah.
Exotic Empire has a bunch of them.
Aren't those imported though?
I don't know. I know that from what I've seen, they are very heavily captive bred over in Europe, kind of like Dion's are. So they could be captive bred imports.
Yeah, but that doesn't solve the CRYPTO problem.
True. Very true.
All right, where do we put them? They are a brown
B.
snake. B. All right. Yeah. Very good.
I think they're nice. I think they have potential, but they're another niche brown snake.
All right, these ones aren't brown. Not today, Satan.
S tier, no further questions.
What? Are they too fossorial? That's my question. And are like some of the localities too big, or are they all cool? Because I mean, they're probably the most attractive, well-known.
I think they are perfect little angel babies who have done nothing wrong their entire evolutionary life.
Perfect angel babies. Whoa.
So here is my like snake keeping history. So I started with a ball python, then I got a corn snake, and then I got a mandarin rat.
That's not a normal trajectory. I don't know if you knew this.
I know this, but
okay.
I did well with them and I still have them. So
yeah, they must do good enough because they're not. There's more of these as like a rare prestige colubra than rare prestige rat snake than many others, and that might be Matt's fault. Like
I don't think it's him. It's so Zirkles heavily bred these. They had a huge colony for a long time, and this was one of their main species. These and like Taiwan's and a couple others.
So that's. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. So, I mean, I think that's why they're out there. But the thing is, because there's a lot of them, but they only have 2 to 3 eggs per female per year. So the fecundity is low. So they're not being overproduced. But they're, from what I've seen, as long as you are keeping them, pretty stable and you find what works for them, they breed like clockwork every year.
Do they multi-clutch ever?
I do not believe so. The people I know that I got my female from have never had a double clutch.
Well, that's good, frankly. Yeah. I just some of them are quite large, and I'm like, you fold up a 6-foot snake into a CB70, and I'm like, that's not my idea of a good time.
So those are like the Vietnamese ones get the like 6 foot or the 5 to 6.
Yeah.
But the Chinese ones stay like 2 to 3.5.
I think that's much more reasonable.
Yeah.
And I like that you can have like red ones or gray ones or like wacky doodles or xanthics. There's stuff to do. That's fun.
I think they're great. And I mean, as long as it's kind of like a bamboo. As long as you keep it right,
it should be good.
I want those at S though.
Okay. Well, I don't have a category for a kissy baby or whatever. Snuggly.
Hey, those are my favorite old world, bar none. So
Listen,
I'm going
this
to
is
put them
your
at S.
tier list. As long as people know. What about these critters? They're not small at all.
These are a nightmare.
A nightmare. We go from.
I was just reading a whole. I'm not sure if you know Francis Coschieri at all. He's a UK herp keeper. Does a lot of like rat snakey type old world colubrid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He put up something. There was some group over in Europe did a like whole write up on how Moellendorffs should be kept, because there's never been like a super formal like this is how they thrive best in captivity.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked to some people that have them, and it seems like there is a lot of failure to thrive with the babies. So I'm not sure if that's like we're seeing some genetic bottlenecking with them, because I think as far as like appearance goes, they're gorgeous. You don't get much better than a snake with a green body and a red head and a red butt.
Right, that lives in trees.
And they
Like
get sizable, like 5 to 7 foot regularly.
I thought some of them got like gigantor, like 8
Those
feet
are
also.
That's pretty rare, but I don't know. I think Moellendorffs are really cool, but the handful of people I have talked to that have had them a lot of them have had issues with them, especially as babies.
Is there something about living in a cave or something that the babies need that we're not adequately providing?
See, I don't know with these, because even when you like, if you've ever read the like Rat Snakes and Kin of Greater China, or like the Klaus Dieter Schultz book, it doesn't really have a ton of info on Moellendorffi. And I've seen like some field herpers over in Asia who have done some stuff with them and have photographed them coming out of like karst formations and stuff like that. So I don't know if we're missing something with like habitat or temperature or prey choice or something, but
yeah, I've seen them like pictures of them like hanging down eating bats, but those are adults. But if we're having survivorship issues with the babies, then maybe the babies
are like lizard feeders.
Or eat salamanders or something weird, and because that's what's down on the cave floor, and like that sort of leaner prey item, and then grow up slow. Who knows? They are very attractive though, but they're expensive. So like, if you want to shoot your shot, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Where do we put?
I'm going to put them at C. I'm going to put them at C, because as much as I think they're gorgeous and I wish they were easier to deal with, I feel like they're difficult. And that's what's kept me away from them for years, because I've had the chance to get like a pet only one for like $200, and I debated it. But
yeah, I want them, but I want to be like, I'm ready spiritually. I've trained or something. Like I have more space and time.
Yeah, I don't want it to. And the other thing is, I want to get them when more people are producing them, so that we're maybe a little bit further down the line, but also instead of like $700 for a fresh out of the egg baby, like maybe like $700 for like a 6-month-old that's eating drop fed pinkies, you know?
Yeah.
So I think Jessica froze. Oh, okay. Oh, there you are. You're back.
I'm back. I'm Oklahoma internet. It's for Oklahoma.
You're good.
All right, there's 2 rhino rat snake species. I'm sort of talking about both of them at the same time because we're saving time. But this is Bolingeri, not Henensis, but Henensis, you can include both of them in your discussion. Go.
I'm Team Barony, so I believe in the superior unicorn snake. I'm here for our Lord and Savior Barony.
Really?
I like rhinos.
These ones turn blue too sometimes for fun. They're just not as big. And they're not rear
Yeah.
fangs, so you can keep them in Colorado and stuff.
Are they? I feel like I've heard something about rhinos having some potential rear fanged action going on.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But so I will say my like rhino versus Baron Eye thing has kind of chilled out because when I was at Tinley, I actually got to see like an adult rhino in person for the first time. So I get the appeal.
Yeah, there's no other member of this clade that has a nose accessory. So
Yeah, and I think that that's really cool. The size is really good. The issue I have with them is how finicky the babies can be.
yeah, the fish business, hypothetically.
So I mean, if you get one like because I've heard some people say like they drop a pinky in the water dish and leave it overnight and the snakes eat it.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's some ability to like select for better feeders, kind of like with hognose and other stuff.
Right, instead of doing guppies.
Yeah,
Then,
so I feel like if you
yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like if you do something like that, you get a decent bloodline, you get an animal that's eating good. They seem to be pretty bulletproof. And everyone I know that has rhinos says how much they like them. So I've never heard a bad thing about rhinos other than babies being picky with food.
Yeah, a lot of people keep them in racks and not necessarily even like planted. You know, they'll still give them like a humid hide or whatever. So like they must be
They
a
seem to be
little
pretty
more
tolerant of a lot of conditions. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. All right, where do we put them? Both species together. They do
A
come in
or
a
B? I feel like I'm going to put them at A because I think they're a good size. They're attractive. They're losing a few points for being picky babies, but overall, once they're beyond that point, they seem to be pretty bulletproof. So,
yeah, and they come in blue,
mhm.
which a lot of these do, but so do these.
Rain
For an
rat.
autumn.
Yep. So these, I don't know a lot about these whatsoever.
My understanding is they're even scareder than green bush snakes, which they're obviously like sister taxa, but
These are
they're
like mini
even
Ganyas.
cooler looking. So I just like they're still little. They're hard to take care of. They need a super planted take, supposedly, but you can get more turquoise and blue variants imported in from breeders in Europe. And they have like all the extra like accessory patterns that make them.
I think that visually they're a super attractive species. I honestly don't know enough about them to have an actual opinion on them.
Okay, that's fair. All right, based on vibes alone.
Based on like, I'm going to put them at B just because I don't know much about them.
Okay, that's fair. We love that.
And if they're like a green bush, they're probably deserving of the green bush here.
Yeah, they're very green bush like. And green bush can come in blue too, by the way. All these green ones can have an xanthic variant, obviously, or like be hormonal blue. But as far as like little snakes, you know. And then all right, this one is the last one.
Is this Margaritatus or something like that? The
Margaritatum.
Okay. Yeah.
So they thought it was endangered. It was extinct in the wild. Then somebody's just like chilling in Borneo, and they're like, "Oh, whoops." And it's pretty cool looking. But if first I was like, "Oh, we're never going to see it in the hobby." One was listed for sale this year.
Wasn't it like $12,000
or 14 or a lot?
Yeah.
Many that just like a lone male. I'm like, is that legal? And then I just didn't talk about it or think about it too hard. But they are very cool looking, and they are goniosoma. And
I mean, it's beautiful, but it's an expensive snake that looks like it kind of wants to die.
Yeah, very tropical, very wanting to die. Almost looks like, I don't know, like a paradise flying snake version of a rat snake, like you shoved it through.
Or like a speckled racer.
Yeah, and the ones like you see like the herping where like the tourist sat down on a log and was like, look at this. And they just saw it was really skinny. I don't know if it's supposed to be skinny. Or it just was a skinny one. So if they are like flighty and weird and super arboreal, maybe they will definitely want to die right away. But they are cool looking.
I don't know.
Is it?
I'm one of
Is
those
it cool
people
enough
where
to murk $12,000 on them?
no, this one is getting D tier.
Whoa.
It is beautiful, but that was $12,000 that is probably gonna die.
Yeah, like it would be awesome if it was established. Cool, good. Everything was great. Life was perfect.
But I mean, I'm
Is
one of
it?
those people where, like, I will say the most expensive animal I ever bought was $700 because I don't like dropping a lot of money on anything because, hello, it can die.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're spending $12,000 to get this wonderful snake to be the only person on the planet with one, and you have a lone male, and if
Lone
the one
male.
in the picture is the one for sale, it doesn't look great. Like, it's
I
pretty,
think
but it looks
there
like its face is a bit beat up.
are more around that have been wild caught, but I don't know.
I don't know.
I
There's
don't
just
know if anybody's been that successful. I
I
don't
don't
know. I
as
haven't heard anything about it.
I remember when it came in because I saw it for sale and I thought it was
Mhm.
ridiculous, and then it vanished. So I don't know if someone bought it or if it died, but I mean, that's one of those, like, it's cool, but is it? I don't think it's worth the money, and I doubt that they're ever going to really get a toehold in the hobby over here. If we can't get a huge toehold for Jansen or Oxycephalum, we're definitely not going to get it for these.
Correct. Yeah. I don't know. It is cool. It's just like, what do we do about it? Nothing. Well, the poors have no say in what's
No.
going on here. I like the.
I like the blue.
The blue with the black border is killing me deep down inside. You know, it reminds
with
me
the,
of like I don't know, chicken feathers.
Mhm.
You know, some chicken like speckled. Any of the
What are
speckled
those, Silver
breeds.
Lace Wyandotte or something?
Yes, it looks just like that. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
I think they're super cool. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful snake, but I'm cheap.
Yeah. For $12K, I could buy the prop shrine of the silver monkey from Legends of the Hidden Temple.
There you go.
Really? All right, did we learn anything?
We learned that Baronai are still better than rhinos.
Are you sure?
I like my Baronai. I'm just
Better than
saying.
rhinos, though?
Okay,
Really?
I have like an oddly nice Baronai that is very trustworthy and has never tried to tag me. So my experience is not the typical one.
Okay. I don't know. I'm very like size sensitive. And I'm like, to me, a Baronai is too, no offense, everybody, too big for me right now with the amount of space I have to compete with. And I wouldn't give them the space that they need. And I'd rather
I
go
get that.
buy something that would fit in a 3-foot cage.
Mhm.
Is that crazy?
No, I mean, I feel like the hobby as a whole is moving from larger, like, showy big species to like smaller stuff. Like, you don't see as many people keeping like black and white throats and Niles. You see more people doing Ackies and Kimberly Rocks now. Like, I think the
Yeah.
hobby is moving towards like smaller animals that we can give more to.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with somebody being the person who likes those things. But like if I'm gonna have X number of big snake slots in my world,
Mhm.
I need to be like, I decide that is true. And like these are the ones. And
Yep.
so to me, Climax and Russians are big snakes. Like, you know, they're fucking 4 or 5 feet long. It needs a 4-foot cage. God forbid. So I don't know. That's all.
I'm with you. I mean, I think for me, like, a big snake is anything like 6 foot plus, like Carinata, some of the pines,
Oh yeah,
and
those
some of the
snakes are
bigger
big.
beauties. But
like that, there's like the debate. Like, should you give a snake that's 6? I mean, I know people are gonna argue a 6-foot snake a 6-foot cage. You really should. You could probably get away with it for a while, but especially if
any
it's
snake
running
I have
around and
over 6
pooping and
foot
having
does.
fun. Right.
Yeah.
I know you all can fold them up into a smaller cage, but I don't know if you should. Just plan
Nope.
on like thinking about upgrading. Can you spend $1,400 on Viper tires? Why are you asking me about this now? No. How about no? Take that. All right. Anything else to wrap it up? Apologize profusely to whoever you offended with your picks. Also, sorry.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry to anyone offended by my thoughts that rhinos are lesser than barons, and that mandarins are the superior old world. Honorable mention to the Choppa rat snake that only exists in like one collection.
What about the snake that... Oh my gosh, what's his name? Why can't I remember his name? I went to school with him. He's married to a Chinese lady. He lives in China now. It's in his book. Whatever.
Kevin Messenger?
Kevin Messenger. When he took pictures of the yellow looking, like the new one that was described like 5 years ago. What was that snake called? Do you remember?
It's on the tip of my tongue, but is it in the Euprepiophis?
I think so.
Oh, is this the pearl banded rat snake? The one that looks like a mandarin?
Yeah, it looks like a mandarin just like remixed.
Yeah, that's a pearl banded. I'd give my left arm for a couple of those.
Oh, those are cool too. That wasn't what I was talking about. I don't know. There's a bunch more species, I guess is my point. They are also cool. Some of them, like if you were the cool kid to show them off and popularize them, that would be good as long as you have a big enough colony, you're not inbreeding really bad. But I think a lot of people get fixated on like the bigger, showier ones when maybe those ones aren't really right for them. I think it's my only point. It's like maybe you want a slightly smaller, maybe less showy one because it'd just be easier to keep in perpetuity. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think you get that with some of the beauty snakes. Like as much as everyone likes the Vietnamese because they're big and they're blue and they're arching up and like striking at you, like the Chinese and like no one likes the Yunans because they're brown, but they're the smallest ones out of that group. You know?
Yeah. I guess that's all the only thing I really want to tell anybody. Like I hear a lot of people be like, I only want a beauty snake. I would never buy a climax. I'm like, brother in Christ.
You will enjoy a climax so much more. Yeah.
And they're like, no.
Climax are so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, they're way fun. And they're, I don't know, if you just like a snake that you kind of hold on to and they hold on to you and you're having fun, they'll fit that role very well. And they're cheaper than beauties. So like, I don't know. Everyone should try out some different things, though. I would love to see more of them captive bred here instead of continuously imported from Europe. Because we can't keep our shit together long enough as a hobby to propagate them here. Any of them at scale. Because, like, hello.
I just like to see more of the like locality Diones. Like I was listening to the episode you did was 2 weeks ago on the Diones and like the Altai and the Barnaul and all those. I just want more of those.
Yeah, me too. Because I know people import a lot, but they're importing it from the same set of people, and we keep getting ones that are busted. So, like, I don't like. That's why whenever I find some random Portuguese person or whatever, I do like lock in, and I'm like, "You're not a weirdo, are you?" And then I'm like, "Oh, would you send me 2?" Because like it's like a normal keeper instead of like a clearinghouse for multiple like warehouse size collections. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Like keepers are cool. Please. This is what I was trying to talk about. What's this?
Oh, that's new.
Sneaphodonta. It's a mimic. It was it published? 21. It's the newest rat snake species.
Can I be so just straight up right now, and I'm gonna get some flack for this? I have a hybrid snake at home, and it is a Mexican black king crossed to a corn snake, and it looks just like that.
What? That's
It's
probably
this
cool
weird,
looking.
like, it's got like a solid red head with like black around its eyes and a yellow body with red spots down its back. It looks just like that.
Well,
That is cool
launch
looking
it.
though.
Yeah, these were discovered, I don't know, a long time ago, 2014, but they were published in 21. These aren't in the hobby. I think they're a species of whatever concern in China, but hopefully they stay that way and they don't ever come here. But if they did, you'll know where they're from. I just think these are cool.
If they did, I would take 2.
All right, yeah. We'll see whose
Those
pants
are
they come out of. All right, I think we did it. Any other final thoughts? How's your season going in general? Are you breeding anything rare ratsnakey this year?
My season has caught on fire and burned to the ground.
Damn.
I have seen locks from multiple pairings. Like, I got a new incubator, so I kind of wanted to throw some ball python stuff together and just test run it. I saw multiple locks, have not gotten a single egg. I have a 1.2 trio of Slowinskii together, and I have seen the male lock with both females, and I have gotten nothing. I had carpet pythons together that locked, and I've gotten nothing.
What are you doing over there?
So a lot of people, it seems like it's an Midwest, East Coast thing. A lot of people are not having great seasons out this way right now. And I think it's because, like, up until about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago at the very most, like, we were still having nights into the 40s, but daytime temps in like the 70s, 80s.
Oh. Then you brumated the Slowinskii, right?
Yeah, down to like 52, 53 for
they usually just come up
months.
and like, let's do it.
Well, the thing is, I've seen lots of like
very corn snake like in that way, in my experience.
Yeah, and I've seen lots of the little like herky jerky, and I have one female who is kind of looking a little big. So other than her, everything that has laid eggs, like I had some geckos that dropped eggs and were slugs. The Russian tortoises laid eggs again, which were fertile last year, but were slugs this year.
Bummer.
Yeah, it's been a rough year. So I'm hoping next year is better, because with any luck next year, I might be able to put the Tarhumaras together for the first time. And yeah, those Mandarin rats, Slowinskii again, and then probably a different pairing of carpet pythons.
Is your anery silverleaf a male or female? Female?
I don't have any of the visual aneries.
I thought you had one.
I had a deal worked out with someone who had an anery silverleaf, like adult, and we had agreed on a price for the adult and all the babies from this season, because he said that he saw locks from them and it was a proven pair, but he had never bred them. Then it turned out that they were both females, that one and the just standard silverleaf that it was with, so they were both females. And then he sold them.
But he saw locks.
Correct.
They gay? Which is fine. It's Pride Month. Happy Pride, everybody. You know?
But then he sold them out from under me to someone else, and then messaged me to be like, hey, I forgot that we had a deal about these, and I sold them.
Great. All right. Well, damn. So now they're gone to the loss of the wind.
Yeah, because the guy that has them, who I will keep unnamed, you would know who he is. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I reached out to him, and he was openly like, yeah, I have nothing that's het for it, and I have no males to put to it, but I'm just keeping it here so that one day I'll get a male for it. And it's like a 7 or 8 year old anery female. And as far as I'm aware, it's one of the last breeding age anery females in the country. So if you want to do a herp trip to Grimes County with me, and we'll try and find some Slowinskii.
Yeah, I do actually. I don't know. I'm getting more like, I don't know, feral. I'm feeling continuously feral at all times. I'm only like, I don't know, Instead of going to a reptile show and wasting my time selling snakes, I just go visit where they're from.
Yeah.
It's not that fun to sell snakes. I just want to tell everybody this, like in person. It's actually me abuse. I'll sell them online and use my time away from the collection to travel.
There you go.
Look, she's going to Southeast Texas this summer. Maybe aren't they all going to be sleepy time hiding this summer? We'll have to do like road cruising at night.
Yeah, I've got a friend going down to Louisiana this week, and he's going to be in Kisatchie. And he was like, "Oh, if I see any weird corn snakes, I'll let you know." Like, don't get my hopes up like that. It actually is
in the national forest.
I believe so.
I didn't think you could legally collect from national.
Or it may not be like the forest itself, but it's like the parish around it type thing.
Oh. All right.
So.
Yeah, that would be cool. There's a lot of things that'd be cool, and I think we're all fucking up on, by the way.
Yeah.
I still don't know if the tail kinking issue, I know it's temperature related, but is that exacerbated by them being all inbred as hell? And we could make them more normal. I put their eggs with other cold sensitive eggs at this point in my keeping career that doesn't seem normal. They live here. They live hot ass places.
I was going to say that's the weird thing. So because I've kind of done a Pituophis deep dive over the last year, apparently with Pituophis, the first signs of inbreeding depression that are seen with pine snakes seem to be the same things we're seeing with Sloanskii, where we get the tail kinking, we get the not wanting to start up, we get the small clutches, lower fertility. So I would say it's likely inbreeding related.
I believe you.
But
because there's very little evidence that the last 15 years anybody has done much of anything except for just
Yeah, I have one of my Sloanskii is wild caught. I have one wild caught in my whole group, and he's Rapides Parish or something like that down in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
But other than yeah,
herping. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, no, I want a big Freak Nasty Texas variant. Mm-hmm. Mostly for the Sloanskii. I do think it'd be fun to have a sort of mutt Louisiana version because then you would get more color in it, which I think would make them look cuter for sales purpose. Is that mean?
No, I keep debating with my the Rapides male because he's that one that you might have seen that has the really high orange portholes on his side, but the rest of him is very mahogany. I kind of want to cross him to the Natchitoches, which are the dark horse herp line. Mm-hmm. But I've debated also crossing the Natchitoches to the Texas animals that I got from you.
I think you probably can because they're all inbred as to shit anyway. So there should probably be a hobby variant that's just whatever, right? And then
that was kind of my plan to kind of try and outcross Silverleaf a little bit and maybe see if we can get some more color and contrast into that more. Maybe.
I think that would be totally fine. Because right now, what do we got? Not much.
Exactly.
It makes me sad. I don't know. I still have a pumpkin patch, which is my paradox male. I don't know what
I almost just asked you if you still had that male with the funky red spot.
He's got a beauty mark. He's just a babe. I don't even know if I would breed him because I'd be breeding him to his mother or his half cousin. So he's just a pet for fun. He's cool though. He's pretty nice. Yeah, they're nicer than corn snakes as babies on average.
I would say the ones I got from you, it's interesting. So the silver leaves I got from you which are, I believe, a year younger than the wild types I bought from you, have grown so much faster than the wild types have.
What does that mean?
I have no idea. I feed them
Okay.
all at the same time, but they're already like 2.5 feet long or something like that.
Yeah, I don't. And then
They're
my
weird.
mom, the oldest female I have, is from Joe Phelan, and it is an older animal, so it's like hypothetically less inbred. I'm guessing. I don't know. And then the Slowinski or the Silverleafs that I got later were babies when I got them and are younger, and I think smaller. Like the female is smaller than like the older one, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I think we need many more genes entered into this gene pool. Freshen it up a good bit. I keep
hard
thinking
because like
sorry, I was just like, what if I just put a bulletin out on the Herps like Facebook group, like for the Herps show, because they all just vend in Texas all over the place. I'm like, y'all could legally collect one and gift it to me legally, and I wouldn't have to be there. I think they just don't know or care necessarily, but I don't necessarily want to vend the whole Herps show network to like go find one or two extra Texas Slowinski.
Yeah, I hit up someone I know down in Texas and told him like, if you're ever herping and you can like get some Slowinski and like gift them out, like, you know, I'd appreciate that. And because he's not terribly far from Grimes County, which is supposedly where Silverleaf and Anery both came from.
Yeah,
but
literally anything would do at this point.
Yeah, and I had a dude down in like Louisiana who's like a field herper dude hit me up on Instagram, was like, oh, are these Slowinskis in your profile? Are they yours or did you find them somewhere? Like, I was like, no, these are like mine. I breed them. And he was like, oh, if you ever wanted, I would get you a pair from this county. And like, he offered to like collect some for me.
But he hasn't come through yet?
No, it was like a one-time thing. So I don't know. So I kind of want to like hit him up again and be like, are you serious about this? Because I would love that.
Yeah, I guess that's the problem with like field herping in general, is like, because it's stochastic, they could know that they could find it there, but it could take them 3 years to put a pair together from that county, hypothetically, or whatever. But
exactly.
So I don't know. General bulletin right now is legally collected Slowinski is needed for the hobby currently, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that and like, what is it? Do you follow Yasser over at Spitfire?
Yeah.
Yeah, with his like Intermontana that like you can't collect anymore, but every year he gets like 1 or 2 eggs. And I'm pretty sure he's like the only one with Intermontana at this point.
What do we do about that? Like, if you know you can't collect it anymore, do you let it go? Do you let the animals just go live out their lives without breeding them anymore?
I don't know. I feel like that population is so like has been so separated from the rest of Emery for so long that
is it worth fighting to like?
I wonder if it's almost got like the Brettles python thing where they're so naturally like isolated that like there's almost like that natural level of inbreeding that they do okay with, because the thing is they're smaller than the other Emery and they're more like Montane, almost more like a Mandarin rat, so they likely
you
have
think that
never
maybe they're only supposed to have 2 eggs at a time on purpose?
I think so. But I just feel like they're we went on a
hard
whole
with species like this because
rant.
like only like 3 people keep them, so nobody really cares. But then you're sort of digging through time on forums or whatever to figure out stuff, and then like if the herping part or the keeping part is like, that part of the hobby is quite transient, so if they're only going to be here for 2 years anyway, or they don't check their emails, lakewaymedia@hotmail.com, it's hard to like get traction with stuff. Just kidding. No, Brad's a trooper, so he's probably responsible for most of even it being here to begin with. He's just hard to message. You're like, hey, Brad, I want to buy something. He's like, okay. 6 months goes by.
Well, I was in talk with him a while ago, and I actually messaged him, I don't know, a month or two ago after I
Is
had
he-
that whole like,
Anery fallout?
well, yeah, basically he has no anneries anymore. His group, from what I understand, the last group he had, which were 3 males, which he was going to sell all of them to me, all ended up like failure to thriving at like 6 months old.
Okay. Bummer.
So, and he said he doesn't really have any more like breeding stock of anneries either.
Yeah. I see, like, you see this as like a problem. That, you know, we're in the problem zone of this thing. So that's why, I don't know. If even like 4 people care about each thing, each brown European rat snake, that would be good. At least 4.
Yeah.
4 at a time. Thank you very much. And then the North American stuff too, while you're at it. All right, thank you, Jennifer. I'll get you a gray band king snake and something else. Whatever you want. I don't know. Beards. We suck at finding all snakes, though. Anyway, I think we're done. Final thoughts?
No, I think I
good.
said what I needed to say.
Yeah, all of them are cool. So don't worry about the tier list. But here it is. I'll publish it later on the gram for fun.
There we go.
Yeah, they're all S tier in our hearts, is what I'm saying.
Except for that little trinket rat at the bottom that we all hate.
Yeah, I just thought he was fun. Let's put him S tier because he's a cute guy. He's a critter.
There you go.
I'm not going to Louisiana. We'll see. We'll see. Asian rest are all S tier. That's right, everybody. Say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Merry Christmas. Is it